As Ivy said, we're outside for a pork barbecue. We're going to be talking with Jack McGloy of the Alabama Pork Producers. And first of all, Jack, most people don't think about pork immediately when they think of grilling outside or barbecuing. They think of maybe hamburgers or steaks or something like that. But pork is a viable alternative to those choices.
It's a versatile meat too, and you can use it in lots of different ways. Of course, we will go through and show you how so many ways that pork can be used. And Bob, you know, right now we have the producer really doing a good job putting pork on the market. He's overproduced pork, and the price to him has gone down, which means that the consumer really can look at a bargain in the supermarket right now. So that's why we're drawing attention to it, especially July, because July is pork month in Alabama.
Fine. Well, let's take a look at some of the things that you can do on the grill. First of all, tell us about this beautiful pork roast and how one would go about cooking this to perfection on the outdoor grill.
Have you done a roast before?
No, I've never tried one.
Well, this is a Boston butt, and the best way to get this cut of meat is go to the supermarket and ask for it at the meat counter. Now, this is a boneless Boston butt, and you'll notice the bones out of it. Ask the market manager to cut that piece for you. The Boston butt is a popular cut of meat and easy to find in the supermarket. But to roast this piece, you take a meat thermometer first and you put it inside, down into the center of the roast, and then to tell how it is done, when it gets to 170 degrees on the meat thermometer, it's done. And you hadn't always be cutting into it and this kind of thing and letting the juice out of it.
Now, how long does it take to cut, say, or to cook an average roast this size?
This one will take about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
And should your grill be very hot or medium or?
It should be very moderate. In other words, real low heat. In fact, you'll think that it'll never get done by cooking it that slow. But pork is a tender meat, and you want to cook it slow. Every piece that you cook should be slow.
How do you go about preparing the roast itself? Do you marinate it ahead of time, or are there any special touches?
No, the very best way to do it is just cook it fresh. Don't put any salt. You might put pepper. You know, salt on any piece of meat toughens it. So I always wait until after I get through cooking it and then put the salt or the barbecue sauce or whatever else you want to put on it. Now, if you want to put vinegar and lemon juice, that's all right, because that'll just help tenderize the meat. But don't put the ketchups and this kind of thing on the meat until after you get through.
Until it's done.
That's right.
Okay, let's take a look at these pork chops here.
1-inch pork chops, and that's about all that one will hold. These are 1 inch, and you'll notice this tenderloin on this side of this chop. That is the best piece of meat in any animal, the tenderloin. So in selecting the chop, you want to make sure that it does have that tenderloin in it. If it doesn't have it, it is a rib chop, and it won't have the tenderloin in there. But that's the best piece of meat in the animal.
Okay, if you're going to cook pork chops on the grill, how thick should you have them cut?
I'd cut them at least 1 inch thick. Now, the little fry, the breakfast fry, that kind of thing, is not good for grilling on the outside because it'll dry out and it just won't taste as good. So to have a juicier, moist piece of meat, cut them at least 3/4 to 1 inch thick. I even like them thicker than that.
All right, let's go over to the grill, Jack, and if you will, tell us about some of the cuts of meat. Now, this looks like a hamburger, but you say it's not.
It's a pork burger. It's ground pork. It's a shoulder that all you have to do is ask the meat market man to grind a pork shoulder, and it'll have equal amounts of fat and lean meat, and it'll turn out like these do right here. They're real tasty. For a change on the grill, you might want to try a pork burger.
Now, is this, does it shrink a lot? You get a lot of shrinking?
It's surprising they don't shrink that much. These, you know, I make them into a regular size hamburger, pork burger, and that's the way it turns out. It's not shrunk very much. It's tender, and it.
Do you add anything when you're preparing these?
No, I don't add anything.
Pure pork?
Just pure pork.
Okay, what about the ham and the ribs here?
All right, the ham is a ham steak, and it's cut 1 inch thick.
Okay, let me get the little plate here.
Yeah, that's right.
Put it on here.
And now a lot of people use that piece of meat right there, and it's real good on the grill. It's real easy to cook. Doesn't take long to cook it. Throw it on, and you'll have a real good meal in a hurry there.
Okay, and a piece this big would serve how many people?
That'll serve about 4 people.
Okay. Tell us about what is this piece of meat here, and what kind of cut is it?
Bob, this is probably one of the most popular pieces of outdoor cooking meat that I know of. A lot of young men cook this outdoors because it's easy to cook. And you know, the men usually do the outdoor cooking. This is the ribs, and it's the whole rib. You can get them where they're trimmed up and this type thing, but this is, it lends itself very well to barbecuing. And like I said before, go ahead and cook the meat, and then put the barbecue sauce on it right at the last, because this ketchup will burn.
Right.
And you notice we put this on right at the last minute, exactly. And it turned out a golden color there.
And how long does it take to cook a piece of rib meat like this?
It would only take about 12 minutes on each side at real low temperature.
Right. So I think it's important all the way through to have your fire down, the coals burn down pretty well.
That's right. Always do that. Very slow cooking on pork because it is tender. Now, the way I tell whether it's done or not is, you notice the ends of the bone. Whenever the juice, there'll be some juice come out of the end, and right. Whenever that, just as it stops coming out, well, normally it's done because the bone has been cooked through.
Right.
And it's easy to tell whether it's done that way or not.
Okay.
And people tend to overcook pork a lot of times, so we don't want to do that. We want to cook it right, cook it done, but not overcook it.
Well, Jack, this really looks good for a summertime picnic. Now, you say that the utensils that you use are also very important in preparing any type of meat outdoors on the grill.
I think so, Bob. In fact, we ought to mention that. These tongs should be used when picking up a roast, a steak, a pork chop, a ham steak, or whatever, because if you stick it with a fork, you're going to let the juices out of it. And so I think that's a very important tool right there. Other ones, of course, you're going to have a spatula. You need one of those for turning the pork burgers or hamburgers or whatever you're cooking. You're going to need the meat thermometer that we mentioned before. And then here's a new idea. You use these skewers for skewering pork kebabs, any kind of kebabs. You can buy them in the supermarkets or wherever you shop, and they're very handy to have around in the kitchen. Then you have this brush, and the brush, you know, for cleaning the grill. I know you do that at home, right. And it has the copper brushes in there and a little scrape on the outside, cleans the grill real good, and gets it ready to go before you start cooking.
And I noticed that you also have a very sturdy knife and fork here.
That's right. You can, of course, the knife, you know, you're going to carve that roast, you need a fork to hold it, and then slice it in with a good sharp knife. Make sure it's good and sharp.
Great. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be interested in finding out more about pork and barbecues and cookouts during the summer. July being pork month, I know that you have some recipes and some ideas for cooking meat that you'll be able to pass along to the folks at home.
Yes, Bob, we hope they'll write us and ask for our free recipes. We have all of the recipes that we showed here today, outdoor pork cooking recipe, plus some bonus recipes, specialties for your house, and the pork burger recipe, and then one nice brochure tells how long to cook the meat and at what temperature you should cook it to get it done.
How can people get this information?
Well, all they need to do is to write pork, P.O. Box 11,000, Montgomery, Alabama 36116.
Fine. Jack, thank you for taking time to show us these ideas about making outdoor cooking even better this summer.
Thank you, and I hope you'll try it during July.
I'll do it.
How's that, Bob? That is a delicious piece of meat.
June is National Parks and Recreation Month. What does the City of Montgomery have to offer to its residents during this special month?
Montgomery offers many things for all ages, men and women, boys and girls. We have 19 community centers that will hold open house throughout the city during the month of June for everyone to visit and to take part in the activities there. This weekend, it'll be the 26th annual Blue and Gray Fast Pitch Softball Tournament out at Lagoon Park. It'll go through June 8th and the 10th, through the 10th. And we're having teams from all over the Southeast to come in and participate there. And then during the month of June, we'll have the American Express Tennis Tournament at our tennis complex at Lagoon Park, which will draw players from all over the country. It will sort of take the place of the blue and gray softball tennis tournament that we've been holding in the past. And then we have over at the softball complex, besides during the month of June, we'll have the women's A and majors, the men's open and invitational tournaments there. We'll have tournaments going on each weekend at the complex of softball.
Speaking of Lagoon Park, that's been said to be one of the most outstanding recreation centers in the southeastern United States. What's available at Lagoon Park?
Well, listen, it's 410 acres there. It's about a third developed now. We've got the Lagoon 18-hole championship golf course there, one of the prettiest courses that you can find in the southeast. And over adjoining that, we have the clubhouse and tennis golf together. Then we have 17 tennis courts at Lagoon Park, one the center court of the championship court. And that is picking up out there. We get more tennis players than ever. I've been here since the recreation department started, and I didn't think tennis would ever take on what that has taken on. And of course, adjoining that is the 5-field softball complex, which is known everywhere. And we recently was awarded the 1980 men's slow pitch national championship for Lagoon Park next year. We'll have it out at our softball complex, and which will draw people from everywhere. And Lagoon Park, of course, will be developed later on, and maybe 81, 82 will probably be complete. But our next phase, I believe, is going to be the camping area. We'll have about 210 spurs there, day and night camping.
One of the things that the department is going to be doing this summer is going to be working in conjunction with the police department concerning rape prevention. You're going to be showing a film throughout the month of June. I wonder if you could tell us about this film and what's involved.
Yes, Bob, we have a movie, How to Say No to a Rapist and Survive. And I suggest that everyone in Montgomery come see it. We're going to show it at 5 community centers. It'll be next Monday night, June the 11th. It will start at Carver Community Center. We'll show it at Carver, Goodwin, Floyd, the various community centers. It'll be at 7:30. We'll have the program, of course, on the television and the newspaper, the news media, and we've already had quite a bit. But it's a good film. The park rangers here in our department is co-sponsoring it, and our coordinator of the rangers, James Sanders, is going to show the movie, and I will be there each time to help anyone that wants to know. But I recommend that they see this movie. It's educational, yet it brings out how to handle a rapist, and even though maybe the physically the guy who wants to rape, you can still talk him out of it. And this movie explains all that in detail, what you should do and what you should not do. A lot of it is what you should not do. So I urge all Montgomeryans or anywhere in the metropolitan area to come out and see this movie at one of these community centers.
Finally, if anyone has any questions about Recreation Month, about the facilities that are available at Lagoon Park or here at Oak Park, how can they contact your office and find out more?
Well, anything to call the administrative office here at 265-8593. And the young lady there, Kathy Shepard, will give them the details from our brochure. We have a brochure of summer program. So if you just call that number, 265-8593, and we can tell you where to go, what to do, at what age. And incidentally, we're opening our 3rd public swimming pool on June the 17th at Houston Hills Community Center. So it gives us 3 pools, and we're going to have swimming lessons throughout the month of June.
Thank you so much. It looks like an exciting month ahead for everybody in the Montgomery area.
Let's talk first about your racing operation. What are you doing now in the thoroughbred business?
Well, we are breeding in the Ocala area in Marion County, Florida, and we have 82 brood mares, 8 stallions, and we have 47 babies now, 42 yearlings, and 43 2-year-olds, and then we have a lot of 3- and 4-year-olds. So we have over about 248 head of thoroughbreds.
Did you have any 3-year-old prospects for this season?
Yes, I had 3 that I liked a lot, and something happened to 2 of them, and had to give them some time off, and then I won a race Wednesdays a week ago, $45,000 race in California, and with the colt that finished second to Spectacular Bid and this pace casting in California, but he ended up splitting his ankle.
Oh my!
So
this hasn't been a good luck season. Then.
no, it hasn't.
What do you think about the bid?
I think he's a great horse. He ran awful hard last year as a 2-year-old and stood up good, and he's running good this year and apparently perfectly sound.
Let me ask this, Mr. Hooper. Why, after 20 years without a Triple Crown winner, why are we having so many now?
None of us know why. We went for 26 years from the time Citation won the Triple Crown to Secretary, and then you come up with what's the other horse's name?
Affirmed.
Just in front of him.
Then that was Seattle Slew.
Seattle Slew, and Affirmed, and then this horse this year looked like they're going to be 4 of them right along in a row.
That's amazing.
I don't see anyone's going to beat this horse. And
No one has come up with a plausible explanation?
No, they haven't. No. None of us understand it.
Is it really a sport of kings?
Well, I personally started out in it as absolutely a sports side of it, but the IRS says it must be a business. so I call it a business now.
May I ask you if you have made or lost money over the years in the horse business?
Well, I'm in the hole considerably, but if I would sell, I would be a good plus. Because
how many men can say that, do you think?
well, I don't know. I don't think there's under the statistics, I think it's works out less than 10% of people in the racing make money. Now, if you come up with a horse like Affirmed or Seattle Slew or Secretary or this Spectacular Bid, I imagine that they can syndicate this horse for somewhere above $15 million.
And you make a lot of money there.
Well, then you're all right. So I'm expecting.
Welcome to the Museum of Music on Highway 231 North near Wetumpka. For the lover of music, this is a remarkable place. For those who love organs and pianos in particular, well, it's pretty close to heaven on earth. Nearly 130 organs dating back to 1825, all in chronological order, with information on their history, and in many cases, the original advertisement that appeared when the instrument was on the market. The museum was the brainchild of L.B. Green, a longtime employee with the city of Montgomery.
Well, the Museum of Music was an idea that my wife and I conceived in January of 1966. We had acquired my great-grandmother's organ, and we started looking for parts. We found some beautiful organs, so we just started buying them and making it a hobby. And in 8.5 years, we had collected what we showed here.
Where did you get your inspiration for starting the museum? Have you always had a love for music or organs in specific?
Yes, I've always had a love of music and organs particularly. And after having acquired 4 or 5, I just realized that that was a hobby I wanted to pursue. And my wife and I pitched in, and we had no vacations. Every spare moment was spent either collecting organs or restoring them. Mm-hmm. And for 8.5 years, we worked that and got it all set up, and we opened the museum.
Where are some of the places you found your organs?
Well, I found them in barns, chicken houses, attics, garages, machine shops, you name it, we found them there. They have abandoned them, just put them aside, and just let them deteriorate. And I found some jewels in some strange places. My earliest memories are of the old reed organ in my grandmother's parlor, and also in the little Baptist church which we attended. And I have been exposed to reed organs ever since I was a baby. And I always loved them, always had memories attached, especially during World War I, when everybody was playing World War I songs on the organ. And I just fell in love with them, that's all. That's the only way I can explain.
One of the most impressive parts of L.B. Green's Museum of Music is his collection of pipe organs, or at least what appears to be pipe organs. In the late 1800s, people that wanted the grandeur of the pipe organ but couldn't afford it bought the less expensive reed organ with elaborate, fake pipe. The pipes are solid, like this cross-section. Another bit of musical history is in this glass case, hundreds of pieces of sheet music, spanning more than a century of American popular music. Al Jolson, Lawrence Welk, Rudolph Valentino, Irving Berlin, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Old Blue Eyes himself, and the king of ragtime, Scott Joplin. Like this one can make a bad piano player or even a non-player like me sound good. I think Scott Joplin would be proud. At the Music Museum, this is Michael Jones reporting for Alabama Illustrated.
John, do you remember what you told me this
just get off my
morning at
case right now,
breakfast?
okay?
John, the least
Just
you could do
off,
is respond
butt out,
to Marge.
butt out right now.
Look, John, you promised
Just
you'd be home.
get off my case, okay?
We are not on your case. You told me this morning that you would be home at 5 o'clock to have a quick dinner and to go to the PTA meeting with
I
me.
said I would try to make it at 5 o'clock. One shot in the mouth is going to cure your whole problem.
This is not a scene from a new Broadway play or a part of a made-for-television movie. What you are seeing are the mental health players in action. The four-member group tours the country, presenting a no-holds-barred portrayal of everyday problems, problems that can affect a person's mental health. The idea for the show originated at the Elmira Psychiatric Clinic in New York. All of the players are clinic employees who want to help Americans better understand mental illness. Director John Edwards.
Well, we're really trying to confront people with their own fears of what is a emotionally disturbed individual. We're trying to show them that there are still people beneath the very sophisticated labels they receive under medical terminology. Because people often hear the word schizophrenic. They think of someone with a dual personality, someone who's going to harm them, someone who is going to rape or attack. And this is not the case. Many people who go into mental institutions or go for mental health care are people who have had a recent loss. And we call it depression. It does not mean that all people who are emotionally handicapped at the time have to remain that way.
Co-director Marge Park blames many of the mentally ill stereotypes on the media.
We've done a lot of negative education, and I think that, I hate to say this, but I think the news media really has misused a lot of problems. For example, if a murder is committed, very often in the news it will come out that this person was murdered by a person who had been hospitalized in a mental institution, this sort of thing. And, we'd like to see a lot less of that, for one thing.
It acts as a blanket for all emotionally disturbed individuals.
Is there still a great stigma attached to the word mental health?
There's a great stigma still attached. People are still afraid because of the negative input we get so often that it's always the ex-mental patient who does something wrong. People are still fearful because they don't know what mental illness is. And they're still people are still discriminated against because they have been in mental hospitals.
On stage, the players are extremely vocal and very into their roles. After each presentation, the audience is encouraged to ask questions of the players who remain in character.
He's nagged too.
He asked me, John. I wouldn't leave John. I wouldn't leave John because I take the marriage contract very seriously. My mother raised me that way, and I really feel that John is a very sick person. John is an alcoholic. He drinks constantly.
Why do you keep your mother with you when she is evidently part of the discord?
What type of results do you get? Is there any way to gauge from the drama?
We have gauged in our own area to the point of where more people are accepting our people in the community. We have opened what we call as our community-based hospitals, which are small clinics. We have opened more homes for people who do not have a home. People are paid by the state to take these people in and live as a family. And we have found great acceptance. And our people are not pointed at as being the crazies any longer.
I think people, in seeing the role plays, learned, too, that one does not just suddenly become mentally ill. We try to show the dynamics of the family life or the life with friends and with other people in our role play, so that very often people are educated enough so that maybe just by seeing one performance and something comes up in their life that they can't handle, they would feel that they could seek some sort of help, just as a person who would be physically ill would seek help.
This Montgomery performance was only one of two the group did in Alabama. Before starting the show, director John Edwards told the crowd, mental illness sometimes is nothing more than a breakdown in a person's coping mechanism. He adds, by understanding what mental illness is and how it can be treated, words like crazy people or nuts can be eliminated from our language. Paul Roth reporting for Alabama Illustrated.
John, you couldn't hear it every night because you're never home usually every night.
In the last several months, virtually every economic statistic has been up. And if one were looking for a technical definition of a recession, at the moment it would be pretty hard to say we're in one. Now, having said that, let me also go on to say that virtually every economic forecaster, including myself, believes that there will be an economic downturn still coming. I believe it will be mild. I do not believe it will be severe. Nevertheless, the fact that our economy has proved more resilient than almost anybody thought doesn't mean we're out of the woods. I think we are facing some moderate economic downturn in the months ahead.
In Burt Reynolds' new comedy, Starting Over, Burt plays a Second Flight magazine writer in New York who is married to Candace Bergen. She writes songs and she thinks she can sing, and she does sing. She sings Marvin Hamlish tunes. I think they're tunes. I won't know until I hear somebody else sing them. Candy has the worst voice ever heard outside of a shower, but she's a good sport to sing them in public, and Marvin Hamlish is a good sport to let her. So, Burt and Candy divorce. She sets out in New York to pursue her career, and he sets out for Boston to pursue happiness. His first hope for happiness is Jill Clayburgh, and Jill's first meeting with Burt is a scream, literally. It's one of the most uproarious comedy scenes of the year. Burt is confused about the breakup of his marriage, about Jill, and he has a penchant for the faux pas. The screen is strewn with funny scenes. The screenplay by James Brooks is filled with insights, flashes of wit, and even pain that heightens the comedy. And Alan Pakula has done a fast-paced and sensitive job of directing. If the ending leaves you feeling vaguely discontented, forget it. Think of all the wonderful things that have gone before. I think you'll find Burt Reynolds in Starting Over a comedy to cheer about. I'm Gene Shalit.
The term Indian summer is part of American folklore, but it's vague. No one's completely certain about its exact date, its origin, or even what the term implies. Generally speaking, it's an unseasonable spell of warm, dry weather that occurs in October, sometimes early November. Europe has its counterpart in what's known as St. Luke's Little Summer. In our country, one school of thought says Indian summer must take place after the first frost of autumn. As for the name, some say it originated from the peculiar haze, which resembles the smoke of Indian fires in the hills. Another explanation says that this was the time of year when Indians started out on their fall hunting trips. One thing's for sure, when Indian summer's over, winter can't be too far away.
The people who visited Smitty's open house didn't have a hard time finding where Smitty lives. They just looked for the airplane parked outside, or Smitty's 1964 Dodge, which he painted himself. In fact, he did all the artwork around the outside of his home. But it's what's on the inside that Smitty wants everyone to see. He began his long career of skydiving and daredevil stunts in 1928, and he has his life history on display on what he calls his Wall of Fame. Smitty says he's literally living in his past. Old newspaper clippings, pictures of planes he jumped from, pictures of famous people he's met, such as Sky King, whose airplane Smitty painted. He still has his old parachute and even the cast he wore after his last jump 5 years ago. In that jump, he broke his pelvis, his leg, and his hip. But he says he just may jump again if he feels like it.
I don't say I'll never make any more jumps, because if I ever feel like my leg will take it, I don't care how old I am, because it just seems like I don't feel whatever the age it is. I always feel younger.
One way Smitty keeps feeling young is watching other people skydive. And there was plenty of that at his open house. And there's another way that Smitty keeps his youth.
I boogie a lot, and I like loud rock music, and I just let my hair down, so to speak.
And you can be sure, with all the living he's done and all the friends he's made, Smitty will keep letting his hair down for some time.